Hello and welcome to turn 3 of GMT's Holland 44 Operation Market Garden short scenario. Turn 3, which is the first morning turn. It's the first one we roll for weather, which is very, very important in the game. We roll for weather in the morning, and that denotes what the weather will be for the AM and the PM turn. We don't worry about weather for the night time, and we roll on the weather table. Just giving you some perspective there. You can see of the distance need to be travelled. We have 30 core here, Eindhoven, the 101st currently, 82nd way over here, and I'm not sure if you can quite see Arnhem and the 1st Airborne there. Yeah, I think it's just out of reach. Just if I shift it a little forward, you may just see it. You can see the red entry areas right at the top there. So, long way to go. Weather phase is first for turn 3, and we'll roll that and see what we get. We rolled a 2. Now there is a -1 for the first weather roll. So in the weather table, a 2 becomes a 1, and a 1 is clear both turns. This is the best news for the Allies. This means for both turns they'll get access to both of their air units, and also they'll get maximum air landing points, and air landing points are what's used to paradrop. So clear gives 8 air landing points in the morning or 4 in the afternoon, and you can't use both, one or the other. So we've got 8 air landing points in the morning is the best time to drop everything. So right, the other thing we'll get is there will be a resupply for all airborne artillery. There's only one on the board, which is the 1st Airborne artillery unit, and that'll get flipped as well. So that's the weather phase. Artillery resupply phase. I'll just over here flip over the 1st Airborne artillery, and next we're on to bridge phase. So what I might do is just reorient now, just to get a closer look at what we're looking at here, and that bridge phase, because it's allied, will be about repairing bridges, and focus really is still around the canal start line, the Bocholt Canal, where 30 Corps started. So let's just reorient ourselves here to look at that. Right, so the 2 bridges in question, one is here and one here, where we've got no German units there. We have a bridging unit here under 8th Corps, which is able to start the process. So we will start fixing that bridge. Up here we don't actually have a bridging unit yet. So we don't absolutely need a bridging unit, but if we don't have a bridging unit, we have to go for what's known as automatic repair. So automatic repair can only happen when there are no German units within 5 hexes. So that's not the case up here. We have the Fallschirmjäger unit very close by, so nothing much is going to happen there. We have a bridging unit, but we've moved him here. There's something to be said to move him up during the movement phase so we can start the repair of that bridge. However, I'm not sure it's absolutely essential, so I'll consider that. And that's the bridge phase. Then we go on to the air landing phase. So this is going to be another set of paratroopers landing, and we'll have a look at what we're going to land. So this is the air landing units available. 3 1st Airborne and the rest are 101st. The 82nd are available on turn 6, and that's the next morning, along with the poles as well, which support the 1st Airborne. So with 8 air landing points, we can actually land all of them. So we'll just have a look and just land them in the drop zones necessary. So on the counters themselves, if we take a little look here, so in the top right hand corner, there's a 3, which is the turn, and then C, which is the drop zone. So all the 101st are on drop zone C, and all of the 1st Airborne are on drop zone Y, as you can see. It includes also the 101st Artillery, which will be very welcome as well. Yeah, so and it looks like with the 101st they're all glider troops, but they're all paratroopers for the 1st Airborne. Anyway, we'll get those placed and we'll get them rolled for and see how we go. Looking at 1st Airborne first, there are 3 units to land, and drop zone Y was the required. Apologies about the biking going past. Drop zone Y, which is here. Now, with turns 3 and 4, you can land within 1 hex of the drop zone. Now, there are various modifiers, and the worst modifier is to drop in a woods or a town hex. So drop zone Y here is surrounded by woods, with the exception of this hex here. However, it is what's known as contested, because there is a ZOC from a German unit and a British unit, and even this one is contested because of this unit. It doesn't cancel the contest to actually have units available in there. Now, contesting a hex adds +2 to the dice, whereas woods adds +4. So it is still the best thing to do. And unlike the first turn landing, the rolls are done per unit, not per hex. So we can get a much more variable landing. So let's go with those 3 units, starting from this hex, 1st, 2nd, and then 3rd. And it's +2 on the dice. So the bottom unit here, we have a 3 where the +2 is a 5, so it is scattered but lands okay. We roll again with a +2 for the unit on the top, and that is a 3 +2 is 5, so that again is a scattered unit. And finally, the single unit on top here, the other one was already in possession of the hex, again +2. That is a 1, so some good rolls there, and that's an okay landing. No effect, fairly good. With a 6, it would have been very bad with an S2, and anything from a 3 upwards. A 4 or 5 would have been an S1. So 2 scattered and 1 good is a pretty good return for that slightly difficult landing there. Now we're over with the 101st, drop zone C, and this is that hex and that hex. Now the supply unit, which I think is here, has already landed, so we've got the 5 units to roll for. It's in the open, there is no contest, so it's just a straight roll for each of these. So the top unit actually we'll go from the bottom unit. For this glider unit here, a 2 is fine. For the artillery, a 6, which is an S1. Now for artillery, that's actually pretty bad news. And that actually eliminates the unit. So the airborne artillery doesn't actually land. That's an eliminated unit. However, it does turn into a replacement. And so that's pretty bad luck there. And the top unit on a 5 is scattered. And for the 2 units here, 2 glider units here, same roll. A 1 is good for the bottom unit, and for the top, a 4, which is good. So they both land. So really it was a pretty good landing, with the exception of the poor old artillery unit, which unfortunately won't appear in the game. So on to the movement phase. I thought we'd start with 30 core, and yeah, it's not all plain sailing here. So we have this SS unit in the way. It's going to have to be dealt with, and it's behind the minor river here. So vehicle units tacking it across that will actually be halved, I believe. And yeah, so that's not a good use of the tanks. What I think could happen, this is an open hex, is this disrupted unit is halved. However, it's doubled because it's in the town, so it's worth 2 points. And we currently have 8 and 6, 14 against it. Along, if we added in the Irish Guards here, that would give us 20 points. Now 10 to 1 gives us what's known as an auto DS. So that's effectively a combat result during movement, although exploitation doesn't happen until the proper advance after combat. But the auto DS, and as it sounds, auto DS actually gives you a defended shattered, which is a step loss and 3 hex retreat for the defender. Now this unit only has 1 step, so therefore it is removed from the board. However, what happens now is these units are then given an auto DS marker, which effectively means they can't move anymore, and they're effectively having an early combat. And in the combat phase, they won't actually do a combat. However, they will then get their advance during advance after combat. So yeah, now units may move through or through the hex that was attacked. Now it's now open. So then we can use this unit to push along here and hopefully exploit that. I think that was probably the best move, really. We could have used this unit for combat here, but I think we'll leave it for follow-up units, and that's the best thing to do. So I'll carry on with the movement here, and then I'll also do the same thing for all the airborne. I just thought that was an interesting thing to go through manually, if you like, and then we'll review after movement. Right, so done the movement, and we're looking at an attack here, and then also attack just here off the. Yeah, we've just got the 1 unit which came down here once the auto DS attack removed the unit there, and but we can attack, and we can add an air unit. It's not quite in range of artillery, unfortunately, so the artillery is going to end up on this poor fellow here. So that's the attack there. Movement, I mean, this this traffic marker was actually really useful. There was a possibility of getting the tanks to move, if that wasn't there, to move round this sock and come through here and even bolster this attack. There was a Cromwell unit battalion which ended up I think just going to be helping in the combat here. That one there, that could have got to the other combat, but for that traffic marker. So that it was quite useful, and it ended up just jamming everybody up here and forcing this attack because they really couldn't get any further to do anything. And over here we're stacking up the 11th Armoured, which have just come on, ready to run across that bridge when it's repaired. And in the north we actually will do an attack up there. I think we have artillery support now for the 50th Division, so we can actually attack that with these units with artillery support, so we'll certainly do that. And yeah, that's 30 Corps. On the 101st it was really shuffling. We put a unit across the canal here so it can look to come down to Eindhoven to help out. Another unit here may cross next turn to help as well. Other than that, it's really just bolstering the perimeter in all directions so that it keeps the road safe. And that's really the 101st. With the 82nd, we want to really concentrate on the bridge, so we're going to set up to do another attack here. It's not going to be a great attack, but I think even an exchange would do at this point in time to try and get something happening on the bridge there. Other than that, we've moved units down from Grave to and put this person across the canal for the tactical move to then shore up this end of the perimeter for 82nd. And finally up on 1st Airborne, well, we've having looked and seen that we really don't need to care about drop zone Y anymore, I've pulled back from there and sent troops further into Oosterbeek and into Arnhem there. Looks like we'll set up for an attack here. We've got these units here that can attack. We'll have artillery support here, and we'll also have elite troop morale shift as well. If we can turf this guy out of the city, that means that really the Germans are a hell of a long way from the bridge, certainly on the Arnhem side, and they're just stuck in the outskirts, and therefore a very good perimeter can be set up. So that's the movement, and we'll see how the combat goes. Right, we've had that combat. We rolled a 6 on 3 to 1. That was a D1 result, so that unit had to lose a step. Could have done a determined defence to stay in the hex, otherwise had to retreat 2 hexes. Wasn't a good roll, really. Well, it was a 50-50, and actually, yeah, 50% of the chance it would have to retreat anyway, 50% of the chance it would lose another step. So I thought discretion better part of valour there, so it has retreated here, and so the King's Own Scottish borderers there, the glider troops have moved in from here. So that's a really nice perimeter now. It's really a British Arnhem at the moment. Yeah, so that flank's going very well. Now we move to the 82nd. We did our 1-to-1 attack here, which well, it was a decent roll. It was an A1 DR, so we lost a step off the paratrooper here. However, on the DR there was a determined defence in a city, and rolled a 4 with +1 because of Grabner's recon unit, it being elite. 4 came to a 5, which meant that there was no retreat and no losses. So the Germans were able to stay in the city and be quite happy with that. It's now going to be really difficult for the Americans to try and get into that hex. I think that was the last possibility of doing that. Now it will just be a case of hanging on, I suppose. But they do get reinforcements the next morning. Well, hopefully, weather permitting. So maybe they can bolster things there. They also have a couple of replacement points to rebuild a couple of steps as well. Anyway, that's the 82nd. Over in 30 Corps area, there were no attacks in the 101st area. So we've had one combat, which was here, which ended up as an A1 D1. So the unit here had to retreat and lose a step. Couldn't determine defence because it was disrupted. So it's on full retreat, and yeah, it had to leave. The British unit, the guards, the Irish guards here, had to lose a step and got a normal advance, which is 1 hex. Now we're over here. We can do the auto DS any time we like, and I think we'll leave that last because this unit will restrict what the SS can do if they need to retreat. So we have 5 in defence, and we're attacking with 10 and 15 halved. So that's 10, 17. That's 3 to 1. We're putting in both artillery units because we can. So that becomes 5 to 1, and an air unit, so 6 to 1. I don't believe we can use the armour shift. No, we can't across a minor river. So that's a 6 to 1 roll. So let's see how that goes. Oh, that traffic marker should be on there. Let's do that roll on 6 to 1. Oh, out of the box. And it's a 6. Good roll. It's a DS. So DS is loses a step and must retreat 2 or 3 hexes and marked in full retreat. You cannot do a determined defence. I'm not sure he would want to anyway. So flip the unit over. Here, and a 3 hex retreat. So must come across the river here, and I think possibly up to this this road. However, of course, if there's a follow up, it will have to retreat again because it's on its full retreat side. Maybe it's worth taking it just a little further back here. Yes, I think so. So 1, 2, 3. Let's get it fully out of there. We've used 2 air units, and now we can use auto DS and the advance here, which is a bonus advance. So that's 2 hexes, possibly 3 using a road movement bonus, and breakthrough combat if it's possible. Not quite sure it is. But anyway, we can move everything here, so I'll do that, and we'll then see how it all lies. So that's all done. This is what it finally looks like. We've had a normal advance, a bonus advance here. The tank units here have gone round. This traffic marker, going through the traffic marker would stop an advance, and the units that were here, the tank unit was here, has gone on with a road bonus on the advance to get 3 hexes, and followed up with the other unit behind on a normal advance. Right, so that's how we're looking at that. We've got one more combat to do, which is up in the corner here. So that's Fallschirmjäger unit here, 5 strength points versus 20 strength points, it's a 4-to-1. With the artillery it's a 5-to-1. So let's roll that. That's a 6 again, some good rolls this time. So that's what is it, 4, 5-to-1. A 5-to-1 in a 6 is a DS. So that's a flip, and I think it would have to go into the entry area. And there is a bonus advance and more combat if wanted. Now this is interesting, as we could get these 2 units to move across here. However, that's quite a tough unit. However, I think moving across there is possibly the best thing to do, leaving this unit to occupy these 2 hexes and give us a solid line there. So that's the combat phase. On the recovery phase, we just remove the scattered markers, and that would be about that. And then we have the supply phase. Again, I don't think we're in any trouble with. I will check around, but I think that's the Allied turn. So then we'll go on to the German turn. Right, so this now the German turn. The artillery phase. They don't actually still have any artillery on the board. The 406th Division artillery still hasn't arrived near Nijmegen. It's variable entry. So there's nothing to do there. In the bridge phase, again, I think there's not a great deal to do. We could blow some bridges near 30 core, but I'm not sure we need to quite do it yet. Like to keep them open for the moment. Yeah, so I don't think we'll do anything in the bridge phase. Coming into the movement phase, we've got a lot of reinforcements here. Certainly around Arnhem, they're starting to flood in. Some with some decent combat values on. I don't think the Germans are really strong enough to be able to start bashing into the British, though. And there's not much coming on in Nijmegen either. 406 is only 1 unit. It is the best unit, the 406th Division, but it's only the 1. There's considerably more coming in from the south and the north. Some extra units coming in. Sorry, east and west actually. Keep doing that. To start forming a corridor. But again, I don't think there's anything really combat-wise the Germans will do this turn. So I'll move the units around and then do a recap, and then beyond that it'll be recovery and the traffic markers again. So I'll just get the movement done, and then we'll move on. So over here with the Arnhem sector, we have a little bit of an issue down in Sector H here. So because the British Airborne are in those Arnhem hexes, with the SS units coming across the bridge, they have to stop there and they can't infiltrate to there. So what I've done is brought a unit on here and withdrawn the ersatz, and this unit I've brought on here to then get across the river next turn. There was an option for putting the unit over this ferry. However, seeing as Nijmegen's going fairly well for the Germans, I thought probably wasn't the idea. I might be wrong about that, but I thought the Germans need as many units around Arnhem as possible now. Everybody else has moved up to not quite surround the Airborne now, but yeah, as the noose is kind of tightening, if you think about it. But well, I mean, in turn 6, so that's 3 turns time, the Poles could land, but I think at the moment the Germans are doing best they can over there. In the Nijmegen section, the only thing that's really interesting is this new unit moving in. I actually did move this unit after I finished recording the Allied movement, because I realised if I'd left it there, then the unit could move there and form a sock bond and cut that unit off, and there was no point in that unit still being there, as the drop zone N isn't useful. From now on, everything revolves around drop zone T, and anyway, they may be able to use a completely different drop zone anyway, so it's not so critical. So I withdrew that unit, but this unit has moved in now as well, so slowly building up over there. A lot of movement coming up off J and K, just off the board here. We've got some motorised units. We have our first artillery unit here, which is able to motorise all the way up this road. It's got 5 movement plus 2 for extended, and then road bonus because it's actually moving. It's got the moved marker on it, takes it to there. Up at the top, again, closing in with a ring of units. I don't think that 101st is getting any further than where they are at the moment, to the north, to the west, and it's only going to get worse, that situation. Around 30 Corps, a couple of interesting points. I've moved this Fallschirmjäger unit up to be adjacent to the 30 Corps motorised infantry there, just really to capture it in a ZOC. So next turn with their movement, they're either going to have to hang around there and deal with the parachute unit, or they're going to have to use up 2 movement points just to get away from them. So that was and they crossed the river anyway, so I thought that was quite a good move, just to help gum things up again. Slight readjustments north and south, pulling back to the river line north of Valkenswaard, and in Eindhoven I've then put another Fallschirmjäger unit from the south has come in, so that the first hex here now has the flak unit and a Fallschirmjäger unit and an unknown unit on it. So yeah, that's going to be a bit hard to crack. Let's see what happens with that. Various other units just populating the towns along the southern, the eastern road here, and that's about it for the Germans. So no combat. I've already done the recovery, so these units that are disrupted were in full retreat, and yeah, so supply phase, I don't think there's an issue, and finally with the traffic marker phase, we'll put the traffic markers on, and we've got a new one, of course. We've got a 5th one, and looking at this, probably we need to place one here, and we can't place adjacent, so I don't believe the British are particularly interested in coming down south on this road, so I think I may put it way back up by the original bridge crossing, and yeah, I think that'll do. I could, yeah, I think that'll do. I could, well, actually, there's another thought. Next turn, that bridge will be operational. So possibly putting it, well, I think possibly there. Not sure I can actually do that because the British unit hasn't been through there. No, I'll put it on the main. I'll put it on the main road, I think. Yeah. Okay, so that's traffic marker phase, and that's the end of the turn. So we'll now move on to the PM turn for the 18th. This is the last turn of some British reinforcements in the 30 Corps sector. Some more infantry from 11th Armoured and their artillery unit. After that, it really dries up until almost to turn 8, which is not that far away from the end of the short game, which is where the 43rd Division appears. However, there's quite a stack of Germans now coming in each turn, as you can see here, for turns 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, and it doesn't really stop. There's a decent number of units coming in, so the tide will turn. It'll get interesting then. So the PM turn is clear, so there won't be another landing of airborne troops, but there will be the aircraft appearing and airborne resupply for the 1st Airborne Artillery Unit as well. So it's going to be as good a turn for the airborne as it can be with the double clear, and then we're going to go into night. So yeah, well, thank you for watching this far for turn 3, and I hope to see you for turn 4. That's the PM turn for September the 18th. Thanks for watching. Actually, slight addendum, for turn 3 I forgot to roll for the traffic markers, so I'll just do that quickly at the end of the turn. We have a 2 and a 4, so number 4 is removed and number 2 back here. So we preserved probably the most important one, which is number 3 there, and number 1's doing good work as well. Yeah, and of course next turn we'll get an extra traffic marker. There'll be the full 6. It'll be like that for the rest of the game. Anyway, we'll see you for turn 4. Bye for now.